Hello, everybody. I'm Mr. Abbott, and today I'm going to be talking about descriptive outlining. This is something that's going to help you understand the purpose and structure of other people's writing as well as your own. Now, there's a couple vocabulary terms that hopefully you know already, but you might not. You're going to need to understand what these terms are before you can move on with the assignment. You're going to want to understand the concept of the introduction and conclusion of an essay as well as the body paragraphs. I'm going to be talking a lot about the purpose of paragraphs, the structure, and development of paragraphs. And so, just a real quick review, the introduction is going to be the initial section of your essay. It's going to focus on getting the reader interested, getting them caught up on the topic, and explaining what your point of view is, or whatever the writer's point of view is. It may also establish the author's tone or work to build up their ethos. The body is usually the biggest portion of an essay. Usually, this isn't always the case, but it's the part where the real work gets done. It's where the author is working to explain and build their point. This is usually where the evidence comes in. This is where the author is just working to convince the reader of whatever it is they're trying to say, right? And finally, the conclusion is the last part of an essay. And usually it's where the author winds down and connects all their arguments together. It typically connects the topic to the reader somehow. You want to make this topic matter to your reader. If it doesn't matter to your reader, they're not going to care. And finally, it usually gives some kind of call to action or next steps. Now, the trickier thing I want you to understand is the purpose. Now, there are two types of purpose. There's the larger purpose, which is the purpose of the essay. What does the author want from you in total after having you read this essay? They wrote this to reach their audience for some reason. And so, what is it they want from their audience? How do they want their audience to think, feel? How do they want them to change their mind? What is it they want from their audience? Do they just want to entertain you, or are they actually trying to do something else? And so that's the larger purpose of the essay. But within the essay, each paragraph actually has its smaller purpose, which is what we're really going to be looking at today. We can look at every paragraph or each section of the essay and say, this section is trying to do this. This section is trying to do that. And that's what I really want you to start looking at and paying attention to. Because if you can identify that in other people's writing, you can begin to identify it in your own writing. And if you write with the specific purpose in mind for each paragraph, that will make much stronger writing that's much more cohesive. And so some of the questions you might ask in your purpose is, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to persuade, enlighten, entertain, influence? Are you trying to make somebody angry? Are you trying to make them sad? What is it you're trying to do with each paragraph and with your essay in total? And then finally, you might see structure or development, right? And this is when I talk about structure, it's just like, how is the essay laid out? And I want you to think of essays as being built, right? They're built paragraph by paragraph. They're just like a building, except where a building would have bricks, an essay has paragraphs, and they're put in a specific order to make a certain design to build a certain concept. Instead of building a building, they're building a concept, or they're building an image in your mind, right, of something. They're trying to build that knowledge. And so the last thing I want to talk about is what's called descriptive outlining. Now, this is the process we're going to be going through to discover how other people lay out and structure their essays and what their purposes are. And it has several steps. And so the first step I will ask you to do in a descriptive outline is just draw a line across the page where the introduction ends and the body paragraphs begin. Now, this might seem trickier than you think it is. A lot of people will just go and draw a line after the first paragraph. However, an introduction is not always one paragraph. Sometimes it's 2, 3, 4. It's just a matter of what essay you're reading. And so I want you to take a look at your essay and ask yourself, where is the introduction? Where does it end? And then try to put a line between those two things. Next, you're going to draw a line across the page where the body ends and the conclusion begins. Usually this is the point where the author is no longer making new points and they're just wrapping things up. Maybe they're reaching out to the audience, but see if you can find out where it is. And once again, do not just assume that the last paragraph is the conclusion. Sometimes the conclusion is multiple paragraphs, depends on the author. Once you have that done, you're going to go back and look at the body of the essay. And I want you to divide it into meaningful segments. And so kind of take a look at the points the author is making. And when an author stops making one point or stops doing one specific thing and tries to do something new, you should probably draw a line between those two paragraphs to show, hey, I think the author is doing something new with their writing here. So let's make a new segment. And so once you have it all divided and all the lines are drawn across the paper, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to talk about, well, what is each section doing? And so the first thing you'll do is just give me a brief summary of what it says. So one or two sentences. What is this section that you separated? What does it say? What information is in that section? Then, more importantly, I want to know, what do you think the author is doing? What is the author trying to do with that section of the essay? How is that section of the essay building their larger point? This is the thing that's going to be really helpful if you can get in the habit of doing. If you can think about other people's essays in this way, you can think about your own, and then you can really fine tune your argument as you're writing. So let's take a look at the copy of Jim Crow Policing by Bob Herbert. I want you to take a minute and read through the essay yourself and read it one time and think about how you would go through the descriptive outline. Where would you put the line between the introduction and the conclusion? Where would you put, or between the introduction and the body? Where would you put the line between the body and the conclusion? How would you separate the body into different paragraphs? And what do you think each paragraph is doing? Please stop this video now before continuing and read the essay and try to think of where you would divide it on your own. Only continue once you have done that. Okay, so now let's take a look at this article by Bob Herbert called Jim Crow Policing. And you'll see here that I've begun doing the descriptive outlining of this essay. You can see that there are lines running across the page to separate the introduction from the body, to separate the major parts of the body into conceptual units, and then finally to separate the body from the conclusion here. And there's a couple of things you're going to need to be able to do this. So let's take this line out here. Let's get rid of this, okay? So now if I wanted to draw a line on Google Docs between two sections of a paragraph, I would either go to the end of a paragraph or the beginning of the next paragraph. And if you click the insert function and click horizontal line, it'll add it to your document for you here. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to comment, because what I want to see is the purpose and a general summary of what's going on in the paragraph. So if you highlight all of the paragraph, or even at least part of the paragraph, and click comment, it'll bring up a comment box on the side. And so what I want you to do is I want you to label the introduction and the conclusion. But other than that, I want you to give me a brief description of what the paragraph is about, and tell me, what do you think this author is trying to do with this section of the text? And so I'm going to label this introduction. And then I'm going to label it topic, right? And so what is Bob Herbert talking about? Well, he says the New York Police Department needs to be restrained. The nonstop humiliation of young Black and Hispanic New Yorkers, including children, by police officers who feel no obligation to treat them fairly or with any respect at all, is an abomination. That many of the officers engaged in this mistreatment are Black or Latino themselves is shameful. So the topic is Bob Herbert, who is the author, is introducing the concept of racial profiling in policing, right? That's more or less what he's talking about in that paragraph. And I'm going to hit enter, and I'm also going to say purpose. So what does Bob Herbert want from his audience here? And you can see from the words that he uses, like they need to be restrained, nonstop humiliation, no obligation, it's an abomination, it's shameful. In this paragraph, Bob Herbert seems to really be trying to get his audience riled up, trying to get them fired up about this topic. And so Herbert is working to get an emotional reaction from his audience so they will care about this topic. And since this is an emotional reaction, what do we call that when authors use emotion in their writing or a speaker uses emotion in their speech? We call that pathos. This is an emotional argument. So I'm just going to make a note to my reader, or when you do this on your own document, you'll be making a note to me about, if you notice one of those rhetorical techniques here. So I'm going to click comment. And so you can see I'm not going to go through and do this for the whole document, but I've already done it. And so here I've labeled this document, and you can see that I have the topic. Here are the numbers behind his argument and his purpose. He's building an argument that the police department is racially profiling, right? Then I've separated another segment. I said this is the next unit of the essay. And so I show the increasing topic is the increasing trends used for this policing tactic, and the purpose is to show the audience that the problem won't go away. It's actually getting worse. Here's the next section, and I commented on it with topic and purpose. The next section that I kind of pointed out is topic and purpose. And I keep going all the way until I get to the end, and then I label that conclusion, topic, and purpose. And so what I want you all to do is I want you to get an idea of how other people organize their papers. You're getting to the point where the 5-paragraph essay in English is not really going to cut it anymore. You want to start moving beyond that. It was kind of a crutch to help you get started writing, but you're going to advance more by looking at other people write and make their arguments and move beyond the 5-paragraph essay. And so you're going to do that by breaking down other people's essays and looking at them and asking yourself, how are they making this topic? You want to look at that structure, right? And so Bob Herbert has a structure here. He has this first paragraph, and then it builds with these next 3 paragraphs. He's using these to show the data. Then he has 2 more paragraphs that work together to show the top trend is increasing, 2 more paragraphs that show who is being stopped and frisked. Another 2 paragraphs showing like the kind of bogus reasons police officers give for stopping and frisking people. He has 3 paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs here together working to show the impact that this has on people. And then finally, he has the police talking about why they do it themselves and kind of refuting, saying that's not quite right. And he ends by giving a call to action. And so you can help understand other people's arguments better and help make your own a little bit better by looking at how other people write. And this kind of descriptive outlining is going to help you understand other arguments. But when you go to do it for your own essay, it'll help you understand your own essay even better as well. And so let's look at the assignment that I want you to do. All right, and let's take a look at what you're going to need to complete your descriptive outlining assignment. You're going to need a blank Google document, and you're going to need a tab open to Guernica magazine. And so what's going to happen is you're going to find an essay that you want to read. There's an essay section of Guernica magazine that you can kind of take a look at here. Choose something that seems interesting to you, and things that choose something that would align with your family, culture, and values as well. I don't want a bunch of angry emails from parents asking why I have your children reading objectionable material. And so let's just choose an essay. Let's say we were going to read this one. The first step you would want to do is just read the essay, right? And so what we're going to do is once you're done reading the essay, you're going to copy and paste the whole thing. Sorry, my computer's going a little bit slow. There we go. So I'm going to Control C and then go back to my Google Doc and paste the essay if possible. There we go. And I apologize, my computer is going rather slow today. Let's take out any of the extra stuff that ended up getting copied with the copy and paste. It looks like I might have gotten a little bit more than I really wanted. I don't think I really need 20 pages of an essay. I think I got all the comments and everything. And so here we go. We have the essay here, right? And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to follow the descriptive outlining process that I have before. And I'm just going to put things, just kind of in random places. I'm not actually going to outline this according to what it is. And so let's say my introduction was one paragraph. It may be one paragraph, it may not. I want you to take a look and see if you can figure out where that introduction begins and ends. I'm going to click Insert and put a horizontal line, right? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through the rest of the essay and just keep dividing it into the sections based upon what I think are like the conceptual pieces. So whenever I think an author is like changing their point or trying to talk about something different, I'm going to put another line. And so once I have the pieces all divided, what you're going to do is you're going to go and select them and comment on them, right? And so tell me, what was the topic of this paragraph and what was the purpose of this section? It won't always be one paragraph. Sometimes it'll be multiple sections. But tell me, what's the topic and the purpose? And so the real goal of this is you want to take a look at how the author structured their work. How did they put all the pieces together? And why? What are they trying to do with each piece? This will make your own writing stronger because you'll be able to think about how you want to structure your work. You'll be able to, instead of just writing things, think about, well, what do I want to go next? What am I trying to do next? And this is where you really want to get to with your writing, and this is how it'll help you do it. And so once again, let's take a look at some of the description of what you should be doing for this assignment. All right, and so let's finally review. Hopefully you know the concepts of the introduction, the conclusion, body paragraph, purpose, development, or structure. These are all concepts of that we have gone over in the video. And if you don't remember what any of these concepts mean, please review the video one more time to look at that. Once again, when you're going to go do your assignment, you're going to want to follow this process. I have outlined this in the assignment paper as well. But you're going to want to draw a line across the page where the introduction ends and the body begins first. Then find that conclusion and draw a line before it. Then divide up that huge body section that you have in the middle. What are the different segments in here? What are the different things the author is doing? Once you have that, make a comment on each of the paragraphs telling me briefly what the summary of that content is, and then finally, what you think the author is trying to do with that section of the essay. Thank you for getting to the end of this descriptive outlining video. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me when you get in class. I would recommend writing down questions that you have so you remember to ask them when we return to class. Good luck with your descriptive outlining assignment, and I will see you next class.